For dinner tonight, I'm making an American version of a British version of a classic Indian chicken curry. None of the spices we have here are in their pre-ground form. They're all whole, which gives a much stronger fragrance and aroma when you do grind it up. If you're shopping for spices or herbs, always try to buy them in their whole form because they'll stay fresher for a longer period of time. From left to right and in alphabetical order, we have bay leaves, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, coriander, cumin, whole nutmegs, red pepper. Put these in a pan, roast them for about 5 minutes just before they smoke, and then we'll grind them up and the aroma will fill the apartment with beautiful, beautiful fragrance. One thing I love about cooking with whole herbs and spices is that I really feel connected to my long-lost foraging ancestors. This looks like I went out into the middle of the wilderness, grabbed a handful of dirt by a tree, and threw it in a pan. One of the golden rules of cooking, if your food looks like dirt, you're probably doing it the right way. The undisputed way to brine herbs and spices is with a good old-fashioned mortar and pestle. Okay, the next step is to marinate the chicken. I always like to use chicken thighs with the bone in because the meat around the bone is always tender and it releases a lot of juices, making whatever you're cooking a lot richer. So the marinade is going to be whole fat Greek yogurt, and we're gonna take half of this and throw in here with some lemon juice and salt and pepper, and we'll let that marinate for up to 24 hours. And we're gonna get started on the sauce, the most important part. Whatever cuisine I'm cooking, I really, really like to immerse myself in the culture as much as possible. So right now I'm listening to a classic Hindi album that I found on Spotify. I'm really enjoying it. It's getting me into the mood. All right, back to the sauce. We're gonna use a lot of onions. Onions are so great in almost any dish. I actually used to work on an onion farm as a child. I grew and picked onions for 10 to 12 years, so I really know a lot about these beautiful things. So what else do we have? We have whole crushed cento tomatoes. We have heavy cream, amore tomato paste, and of course, garlic. So we're gonna saute this in a pan, and then we're gonna throw it all together, and then we'll add a chicken stock and the chicken marinade, and boom, there's the curry. Let's get to it. It's pretty cool, right? When chopping garlic, I can show you a cool trick that I learned from my great friend, Nick Susaki. Actually, I'm just kidding. I knew this trick way before Nick because I'm much cooler than him. He's living in Korea right now, and he just learned how to cook during this quarantine, so he's like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years behind, but whatever. So you just hold the knife, chew the garlic, and pound it with your fist, and the casing just comes right off. Super easy, super cool. And you know, speaking of that, ever since this quarantine happened, everyone's becoming like a professional cook all of a sudden. And I really don't like that because that's like one of the only skills, one of the only talents I have. Well, that and talking a lot. But I used to be able to hold that over people's heads, and now like people are learning how to cook and they're like, wow, actually this isn't hard at all. Cody really isn't talented or special. So that's something I'm dealing with. And also, why did I go to the grocery store? There's no flour because people were just baking bread all of a sudden. Why are people baking bread? People haven't baked bread since like the 1800s. I don't even eat that much bread. What are you guys doing? Stop taking the fucking flour. What is curry without naan? I'm going to make the obligatory garlic naan. The first step is 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 packet of dry active yeast, and 1 cup of warm water. We're just going to let this sit for 15 minutes until the yeast softens and it forms a nice frothy foam on top. Okay, the yeast mixture is well rested. Next, I'm going to add flour, whole fat Greek yogurt, and some of our garlic butter. Okay, the yeast is finished resting. It took a break for about 2 hours. Now I've punched it down. I split it up into 8 pieces. I'm rolling each one into a ball. I'm going to lightly coat it with flour, and that's going to rest again for 15 minutes. Yeast is always resting. It's like the laziest of all foods. The yeast has finished taking its 5th nap of the evening, so it is ready to go. The next step is to get flour all over the place. And then after that, we're going to flatten these into small ovals, put them on the cast iron skillet, and cook about 1 to 2 minutes on each side until they're nice and bubbly. Back to the main event, the sauce. This has been cooking for about 2.5 hours now. So our last step is we're going to add about 2 cups of heavy cream, which will give it that nice orange flavor. Oh, this is interesting. That's not good. Check this out. It looks like the heavy cream. Check. Oh yeah, that's bad. False alarm. I looked it up. The internet says it's okay. I was just being dramatic. Of course. Check out this sauce. The cream gives it that nice, beautiful orange flavor, super creamy. I'm gonna cook this for about another 30 minutes just to concentrate the flavors more. Now the next step is I'm going to add a super secret ingredient. This is really what's gonna set this curry apart and put it over the bar. This is a homemade, Jarbo crafted chicken stock. I guess it's not a secret ingredient anymore. But what is Jarbo crafted, you ask? Look it up, it's on Wikipedia. The naan came out great. It's nice and crispy and has that garlicky taste to it. And the sauce, well, actually I haven't tasted the sauce yet, so that's next. Oh, that's really good. I've probably been to a dozen or 2 Indian restaurants in New York. because I'm always searching for the perfect curry. And I have to say, I'm not one to brag. Actually, that's not true. I am. This is better than any Indian restaurant I've had in Manhattan. And I know we're missing something, but now's the time, I suppose, where I'm going to tell you one of my deepest, darkest secrets. Not even my closest friends know about this, but I don't like rice. I know, it's crazy, but I find it boring, it's plain, it has no taste, too much starch, it fills you up so fast. It's just I don't like it, I want nothing to do with it in my dish. I think if I were to open up an Indian restaurant, I would call it Cody's Classic Curry Kitchen with no rice.